Gas prices continue to break records. The U.S. women's national soccer team will now get the same pay as their male counterparts, and the runoff election is Tuesday. This is the Politics of Texas. I'm Stephen Dial. Here's your Fast Four. After years of pushing for equal pay, the U.S. soccer women's national team agreed on a new collective bargaining agreement and now includes equal prize money to what the men's team receives. The women's team won 4 World Cups and is more successful than the men's team, yet they made less money. Sports Illustrated reported this week that the American women team were given $4 million for winning the 2019 World Cup. And if the men would have made it to the first round of the 2018 World Cup, they would have received $8 million. Despite a call to conserve energy last week, the power stayed on during record heat. This week, ERCOT and the Public Utility Commission officials promised that the lights will stay on this summer. ERCOT says that the call to conservation was a recommendation and the grid was never in an emergency situation. Officials predict that this will be the hottest May on record in Texas, signaling that this will be a very hot summer. ERCOT CEO Brad Jones says the grid has 23% power in reserves compared to 8% 4 years ago. A recent poll by UT Tyler and the Dallas Morning News showed a majority of Texans support the legalization of marijuana for medical and recreational purposes. The poll showed that more than 85% of Democrats and Republicans support medical marijuana, but only 60% of those polled support legalizing marijuana for recreational use. This week, while speaking in North Texas, Governor Greg Abbott said his position has not changed and that he still thinks marijuana possession should be prosecuted as a crime. I don't have to tell you, gas prices remain at an all-time high. This week, Texas and North Texas set new record highs for the average gallon of gas. At one point, the average in Dallas-Fort Worth was as high as $4.39 a gallon. The U.S. Secretary of Energy told me the record high gas prices will continue into the summer. Secretary Jennifer Granholm says because the oil industry is a global market, the Russian war against Ukraine and inflation all playing a big role in why prices are up. The Energy Department estimates that a gallon of gas will be above $4 for the rest of the year. Runoff election day is Tuesday. There's a lot of big races, actually, but we're going to focus on one here in North Texas. The race for Texas's 30th congressional district to replace longtime Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. State Representative Jasmine Crockett earned the most votes, but not enough to avoid a runoff. She's facing off against former congressional staffer Jane Hope Hamilton. The runoff election to replace longtime Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson is heating up. Former congressional staffer Jane Hope Hamilton got into the runoff against State Representative Jasmine Crockett, but she's coming from behind and hungry to win. Do you think your campaign's being messy at all, or are you talking about facts?
Absolutely not. I'll tell you exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about my record.
And Hamilton did talk about her record, including her years of congressional experience and her work with elections. But she also had a lot to say about Crockett.
The facts is that Jasmine Crockett was absent when her colleagues were on the House floor, when they were negotiating against the worst voter suppression bill that we've seen in the history of this country, trying to, figure out a way to make sure that they could protect the voters. Jasmine Crockett was not there.
Hamilton is talking about last summer's legislative session when Democrats walked out on a controversial voting bill. Crockett stayed in D.C. making television appearances against the bill. But once some Democrats started to return, she stayed behind and didn't vote on any version of the bill. Here's how she explained it.
The reason that we have voter suppression on the books right now, the one that has caused so many vote-by-mail applications to be rejected, is not because I wasn't there, but because of my colleagues that did go back and absolutely voted. Because before, there was no vote to take. My district absolutely supported the decision that I made.
Hamilton also accused Crockett of taking millions from a former Trump ally and lying about her connection to the family of Botham Jean, the man killed by an off-duty Dallas police officer in his apartment.
I've had some that have been pretty upset about the lies that have been lodged by my opponent. They're saying we don't have time for this.
Crockett got the endorsement from Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson after Hamilton already put her name in the race. Crockett also has endorsements from Dallas City Council members, members of Congress, and local clergy. But Hamilton has endorsements from many of Crockett's Democratic colleagues. She's ready to tout that.
Crockett's colleagues in the House who are supporting me, like Anchia, like Chris Turner, like State Senator Royce West, they're supporting me because they know me. They know me, and they know me very well.
But Crockett says it's not always about who you know.
It shouldn't be about how long you've known somebody. It should be about the fact that somebody has the skill set.
For the latest political news, head over to our website, fox4news.com. We will see you next time for another edition of The Politics of Texas.